Well, trade season has arrived and it's right in the wheelhouse of the Fox Footy Podcast, which has been unleashed in Studio 3 for a special video edition, Very Dangerous Areas. Ben Waterworth with you alongside David Skeeter Zeta, Maxie Lawton, and the man of the moment, Joey Montagna. Hello, Joseph.
Hello, boys.
Fox Footy Podcast debut.
Welcome. We get the cameras because I'm in. Is that what
That's the only reason
how it works.
Too good looking to keep off air.
Yes, that's
what they
fair
always
enough.
say.
It's a good-looking crew in here, isn't it?
Bloody hell. I wasn't going to say it, but I'm glad you have.
Hey, David, you're at Marvel Stadium for the start of the trade period today. Anyone particularly prickly today?
Particularly prickly?
Yes.
There was some prickly sort of conversations, but there was 18 list managers. You get a group of 18, you'll get some prickliness here and there. There was a couple of barbs headed towards the media's direction and probably a few vice versa.
Was Melbourne particularly prickly today?
No, Tim Lamb was quite good, I thought. He was asked a few questions. We did put Lamb on the spit, so to speak, and ask him a few questions. You like that one? That's what you get on here, Joey. We did put him there, and he was roasted, but he didn't give up too much. But I think it was a pretty good day.
Lost the analogy. It's already gone.
It's okay.
Disappointing.
Maxie, the Clayton Oliver situation. We've got sort of 5 trigger points here with Joey, but we'll start with Clayton Oliver. This is an incredible roller coaster ride that continues to take twists and turns. Melbourne and Geelong think it stopped here, though.
Which is strange because Melbourne has come out today. So Tim Lamb talks at this press conference and does some media and says that, oh no, we were never going to trade him. We never put him up for trade. Which is weird because all of the reporting is that they did and were talking to other clubs about, hey, would you be interested? Maybe just floating. Is there some sort of devil in the detail of exactly what they did?
That's right. Is there technicality there?
Maybe.
Just ringing up, asking if anyone is interested is different to actually being on the trade table. That's probably how they're trying to get away with this.
Tim did say when we were asked at shopping around, he said, I don't agree with that terminology. But I don't know why you're driving. As great as Routley's in Geelong is, I don't know why Clayton Oliver's driving down there to East Stanley's farm unless he's of the belief that he's going to potentially play for them next year, one way or another.
Narrative aside here, Joe, in terms of whether the deal is done, is it time for the two parties to part ways, Melbourne and Clayton Oliver?
The question is Melbourne just need to decide what they want to do. So if they want to break this up and say, look, there's been too much baggage the last 24 months, let's cut ties and move forward with a fresh start, I can understand that, and we'd all say, yep, you can see that. If they're going to decide, no, we're all chips in again, we're all going to fall back in love with each other, and Petrarca's going to buy in, and Oliver's we're going to get the best out of him, then just do that and squash it. But by having this little bit of leaking that they were still ringing up other clubs and asking them, would you be interested if Clayton was available? It's just made it messy. It's going to take some sort of effort for Simon Goodwin and this football department to get everyone buying in and being on the same page for them to have another crack at a premiership, because they still do have a list that's good enough to be top 4. They've just got to, do they have it mentally and to be in the right headspace?
Will Faulkner had a story on foxfooty.com.au on Saturday talking about the tensions inside Melbourne at the moment. I think this speaks to that a little bit because it would depend on who you ask as to whether it makes sense to trade Clayton Oliver. Simon Goodwin would say no, because why would he want his team to be worse next year? But perhaps there are other people with different opinions inside that club, and that's why it feels so messy, because there are different agendas being driven.
Well, you can tell that it's getting bad because Max Gawn has been just a stoic front the whole way through. And even he recently on radio is going, I'm getting a bit sick of all these leaks and I need to figure out what's going on. So that's a chink in the armour that he doesn't say a bad word about the club. He re-signed with them through all the turmoil, and even he's starting to get fed up with the amount that's getting out. So I think there's a fair bit to play out at Melbourne over the off-season.
So, Joey, just from Clayton Oliver's perspective, this time last year, he came back to the club, was welcomed back in by the club, played out a season that was probably below his high expectations. This time, if he does come back to the club, it feels a lot different compared to 12 months ago. How does he go about coming back into the Demons' fold should he remain with the club?
It's going to be all on Simon Goodwin. So Goodwin has been staunch. Hey, he's my man, Clayton. I love him. He's so good. He's going to have the ability to put the arm over the shoulder. Forget what the football department, or if it's the CEO, whoever else is trying to get you out of the club. You're one of us. You're important. So I think it's massive for Simon Goodwin to really sort of portray that to him, to get him to buy in. He's a professional athlete, so he's got to be able to, and he's the type of competitor that still wants to perform at his best. He's going to have a chip on his shoulder, want to prove people wrong, and still want to win. So there is that element as well. No doubt it's going to be tricky. The same applies to Christian Petrarca still, you feel as well. So Simon Goodwin, not only is he going to have his challenges with coaching the team and how they want to play, which was an issue this year, it's getting everyone to be on the same page and buying into what they stand for.
I don't want to put you on the spot, but I'm going to anyway. The coaching pressure gauge we always do every year. How under pressure is Simon Goodwin to get something more out of this side next year.
He's under pressure. There's no doubt. The whole football club. And you spoke about agendas. You just wonder, there's going to be some fallout somewhere. So do they try and get rid of the players that they're going to say? Is it the coach that's gone? Is it some people higher up in the football department?
CEO,
there is going to be some change, and everyone's going to be hoping it's not them.
I think it's him, then Matthew Nicks as the top two most under pressure coaches if they don't have a good 2025, realistically.
All eyes on the Dees next year.
Well, the biggest story of the trade period could well be Clayton Oliver. But if Melbourne are to be believed, well, he is staying put.
There's always conversations this time of year, and I'm not going to go into the details of who spoke to who, but clubs ring us, we ring clubs, so that doesn't mean that someone's going to be traded. Our position has never been that he's tradable, so I'll dispute that. Yeah, he's not getting traded.
Oh.
Sarah, please. Can we... Tim Lamb, he is saying he's never been on the trade table. So Gary Pert's never spoken to another club. Geelong were just making up that they were a chance to get him. They met him. They did all this groundwork. Clayton said to his manager, I want out. All of that, we're now not believing. Is anyone buying what they're putting down?
Well, no. I think we all agree it's been a shambles, the way this whole thing's been handled. The whole year for Melbourne has been a shambles, and it continues to be the case with some of the comments. It's been a tricky situation.
I don't reckon this one's dead, John. I don't. I reckon it's a week. It could go all over the place again.
So here's Melbourne's issue, though. They say, OK, if you really want to give us an extraordinary deal, we'll consider it. But right now they feel like Geelong's trying to take the mickey out of him. Melbourne, you pay half of his contract, which is worth, $10 million over the next 6 years, and then you give us a future first rounder, which is halfway to what we'd need for him. I think if you're Geelong, you're thinking, this is great. Clayton wants to play with us. He's tweeted or he's liked Instagrams that says I would like to play with this football club. At the very worst, we've destabilised Melbourne, who are another one of the premiership contenders. We'll put some Burley in the water for Clayton next year, and you never know. Sneaky chance we still might get him.
How can you say it's going to get done? Melbourne are not trading him, and Geelong were only going to take him if it was basically handed to them and say Melbourne are clearing the book, saying we want him out, we'll give you to him for nothing, which they're not going to do. So Geelong aren't really going to push hard for him. So this trade's not going ahead.
But Geelong, think of Geelong. You came to us.
That's right.
This was a fire sale from the start.
Yep.
It was a cultural issue. You draw a line in the sand. It's a big contract. We want to shake things up, get Melbourne going right. You're the ones who came to us. Andrew Mackey's sitting there going, hang on. We went and spoke to him because we know we'll take all the money off you. Not all of it, but most of it. It's a long contract with a guy you've got issues with. We'll take him on. We're doing you a favour. That's how Geelong...
Yeah, but Melbourne have backtracked and said they're not trading him. So we understand the Melbourne situation is a shambles. I don't see the trade going ahead. I think Melbourne are just going to back in Petrarca, back in Oliver, and back in some sort of camp over summer to get together and all buy in and all fall back in love with each other.
What about Clayton? What do you say to him now, though? How do you, again, bring him back?
That is the story, isn't it?
That's
how
right.
he plays good football next year, confident in his...
That's going to be the biggest challenge. I've still got faith in Clayton Oliver as a footballer. I mean, we've had too many times we've written off champions. Paddy Cripps got written off 3 years ago. We do this too often. He had a poor year. He had so much going on with injury and everything else.
He had injuries.
So he's still a star. He's going to be a star footballer again. It's just going to be this connection with Melbourne and Petrarca and Oliver and the coach and the football department. There's still so much to play out. But I just can't see the trade happening now with everything that's been said.
Yeah, last year it made so much sense. This is the shot across the bow. Clayton, you're taking the mickey out of us. We absolutely need to shock you into, improving. And he did do that. That's why Melbourne fans are so confused. All of a sudden, you're shopping this bloke. Hang on, you just told us that you love us. Exactly. You just told us that, you're inspired by how well he's going. He's never been in a better state of mind. So, look, I feel for Gary Pert. There's no doubt that the list management group came up and thought, as a group, with Gary involved, let's have a little quiet discussion.
And they didn't think it'd get out.
Quiet in football.
So they were naive about that stuff. But again, I would think that it destabilises Clayton because he thinks,
of course it does.
You've told me one thing and you've done the other thing, and that's the worst possible situation because it breaks a trust between a coach and a list group and the player himself.